Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, my gosh. Yes. Cheralyn Darce's joining me here today. And guess what? The books of herb and flower spells. I love this. I am so glad to be speaking with her again because I don't know if you all know this, but you've heard me do a number of shows here recently where I've talked about what I've learned after going down the pathway and not being well. And most of my life, I was totally healthy. And then all of a sudden on April 1st in 2004, I wasn't. And so that is the April Fool's joke of a lifetime. But in the journey to understanding my body, my life, the things I'm surrounded with, I decided to become a student of people like Cheralyn, a student of her work. And today you're going to take a journey with us about herbs and flowers and what they do to heal, comfort us, nourish us, and by the way, tap into their ancient, and this is ancient magic spells. Cheralyn, great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me back, Dr. Pat. It's great to be here.
It's so great to have you here. Mm-hmm. And, you know, what I just said about 2004, mm-hmm. Something happened to me that I never thought would happen to me in my life. And I don't mean that I was just like all of a sudden not well. I came down with a mystery disease. The good news is I live in Seattle and I have access to a world of amazing people. But you are an expert in this area. Let's take a look at the books that I have in front of me, and we're going to give a couple copies of these away. But let's take a look at this. When we say, listen, this is the book of flower spells, what do we mean? Let's tell people what we mean.
Well, I'm a botanical researcher. I love, exploring the language of flowers and plants. And I've written a lot of books and a few oracle decks as well that explore ethnobotany, which is the relationship between people and plants. But I have a real focus on flowers. Now, I love all of the beautiful, the folklore and also the complementary medicines as well that really focus on flowers and plants. And I love the magic as well. And there are so many beautiful books out there that focus on plants. Of course, we use a lot of plants and flowers in magical work, those who like to do these things, whatever path they're on. But I really wanted to share spell work and magical work that focused on the language of flowers and the doctrine of signatures. So these two books, they're not just sort of on the first level correspondences of what a flower could mean. They're really deep. This is all the different aspects that I can gather and find and that I've gathered over my decades of research in each of these spells. So I've crafted them to really tap into that energy. And they do take me a long time to put them together, and I test them all out in my little, it's almost like a test kitchen, because there are ones here that are, some of them are beauty products as well. Some of them are beautiful teas. Some of them are baths, and some of them are little rituals just to do to get us to connect with the energy, which people have been doing since people and plants have been around. And so this is nothing new. It's just that as I've said before, we've become somewhat divorced from where plants come from and what their energy is and what their real environments, their natural environments are. So I'm just trying to bring back a little bit of magic, and I'm still learning every day, as you said. And it was interesting you said that about being sick, because I've just come off the back. I was sitting here smiling and saying, I did not know that about you, Dr. Pat, but I have just had a major health crisis, I guess it was, a month ago, and I did the same thing. I'm a really sort of robust Australian healthy girl, outdoorsy girl, and it just floored me, and the doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. And yeah, it was an amazing wake-up call as well. And I turned to what I studied. That's what I did. So, yeah.
Oh, of course. I mean, one of the things I was struck by, and I just want to read this to everybody, is first of all, the books are beautiful. I just want to say that. The second thing, I think that the illustrations, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's really true, but there's also the energy of it. And one of the things that I was struck by, and we should talk about this right out of the gate.
Okay.
You say each separate flower has a magic all its own. Now, I want to talk about that because we don't talk about each individual flower that has a magic, and then we don't talk about what happens when we blend them together. So I want to talk about both of those things.
Well, I was only speaking about this the other day to somebody. I love intuitive work, and I use intuitive work in everything that I do, but it doesn't replace good old-fashioned research. It doesn't replace ancient wisdom and teachings either. It's a blend. So I start off finding out everything I can about this particular species of flowers and plants, and where they live and how they grow. I've got a big flower garden and vegetable garden, so I practice that. I visit people, speak to other people in different modalities, and just in things that aren't even probably what you and I and the listeners would think. I speak to botanists, I speak to horticulturalists. I speak to people who paint and pictures of flowers, and they don't think themselves spiritual at all. Find out everything. But then the individual flowers, each individual flower does have a magic of its own. It's a living organism. And you need to listen to it and what it has in store for you as well. When I was talking about when I wasn't well, it was something with one of my eyes, and it was a very scary thing. And I was very, very upset because I got bounced around a few ER places, emergency centres, and I ended up at the Sydney Eye Hospital, which I was like, oh my goodness, and admitted as well. And it was the most amazing thing, because here in Sydney, when the Australian listeners listen to this, the Sydney Eye Hospital overlooks our largest botanical gardens in Australia. That's it. And out the window was just, I was so miserable and upset. It's a very old rundown hospital as well. And I was thinking, oh no, this is the worst thing in the world. There were all the calla lilies outside, these red calla lilies. I couldn't see properly out of my eye at all. And all these doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. And I just sat there all the time, and they let me out to sort of sit outside where the fountain was. And I just sat with them. And there was one particular one, I just sat near this plant, and I just felt, I don't know, it's just I say I don't know, and this is what I study, but I just really felt the brilliance of them, and it'll be okay. I would be okay if I just stopped. That's what it was. I was really busy at the time, and I think, I let my immune system run down because I just put everything on myself. So and I was looking at all the flowers, and they all have a certain energy, but this one just did. It was just this one that I sat next to, and it went through a life cycle. It died. It did all that, but I actually took that as like, well, that was it. I actually got out of hospital a couple of days later. But we have to look at, not to replace the meanings, but to look at what it means for us and maybe other people as well, and just slow down and feel that energy from that flower as well. Magic.
And that's what I want to talk about, because if you go back as far as you can go back from when we started to record things, and when we started to draw glyphs of things, a lot of times when we talk about hieroglyphics or when we talk about things of that nature, animals seem to get quite a bit of the the information, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But when you really look, you start to see things that relate to plants, that relate to flowers. We often forget, and I just did another show earlier today where we were talking about before there was conventional medicine, synthetic medicine, the way the species survived was figuring out how to use what was part of nature. And we forget that.
Oh my gosh, we do. And there's an interesting, there's a lot of people who talk about this as well, the doctrine of signatures, which I'm sure other guests have spoken about on your show. And this is the way that a plant, particularly a flower, looks, its characteristics, the way it interacts in its environment. It will let us know what it's for. Now, we don't know what every single plant is for. We just can't anymore. We've just lost that knowledge. Now, there's some scientists will say, oh, the reason people have figured out what things are for is just through trial and error. And there's a plant, for example, I call spearwell. That's what they called, the ancient Romans called it, and speedwell. It's things like this. So they have all these sorts of common names. And so it helps wound healing. But then they say, oh, a Roman, soldier stumbling along had a horrible bleeding wound, and he picked this flower, rubbed it into his leg, and lo and behold, it healed. So everybody knew. But how many plants would he have to pick? I mean, it's not like there's 2 or 3. Some might kill him, and trial and error might have something to do with it, but the maths don't add up. The maths do not add up. That we tried all of these berries, all of these flowers, we'd all be dead. I don't think we would keep going. They've said this. So there has to be this intuition, this ethnobotanical relationship where, I mean, you just kind of know. I don't know about you, but I look at chamomile and I'm sort of feeling happy, calm. There's sort of the little yellow in the middle and the little petals. It's sort of, it's happy, but it's little and calm and it's easing us down. But we've lost that that recognition. That's all it is, and that relationship. But you're right, there is all about animals, and I guess it's kind of like it's easier with animals. I think they're around us more, and we live in cities, most of us. Our foods and our packages are all chopped up, put in little plastic boxes for us, so we don't even know where they come from anymore. We don't see the way they live. We don't see the way they interact with us or the environment. It's a sad thing. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know what a chamomile flower looks like when it grows.
Exactly.
They know it's chopped up in a thing. But if you saw the way that it grows and how it's this beautiful green carpet with these little flowers and it's in the sort of semi-shade and it just has this quietness about the way that it grows. It has this thing, it draws you in. Look at a sunflower, big, bright, fertile thing, tons of seeds. They burst, at harvest time. There you go, energy, strength, longevity, every part of the sunflower the Native Americans used, and then they became very popular in Russia as well as a food source and everything that could be used. So these things, we just see it all. We just need to reconnect. We hear that all the time, reconnect with nature.
Exactly.
I'm always saying grow something. Even if you live in an apartment, grow a pot plant, grow a pot of herbs, and that will tap you back into that universal energy of plants. Just one plant. They all connect with each other.
Well, and that's what we're going to talk about that and much more today, because the connecting that really is in the forefront today is taking a look at what these, as my grandmother used to say, what these beautiful concoctions, better known as spells, what happens when we put them together and we create an energy, and that energy can get us from where we are to someplace we want to go. What is it about what we're looking at in a world where we're so busy that maybe there's a good health spell right in the book? How about vitality? When we come back, we're going to talk about some of these. I have a couple of favorites. I'm just interested in what Cheralyn has as a favorite. When we come back, the do's and don'ts. And how do you know that you know? Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Gifted intuitive healer and spiritual teacher Sarah Luce brings her unique style to the hit show Small Steps, Big Breakthrough Radio on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Tune in each month as Sarah turns reality on end and shows us how to experience expansive results with simple yet powerful steps. Expect an enlightening bend on what you currently believe is possible. For show details and upcoming topics, visit sarahluce.com. That's SARALOOS.com.
Are you done being afraid to jump into the life that's waiting for you? Are you ready for a real shift? I invite you to tune in every Tuesday with me, Tracy L., on the Tracy L. Clark Show, where we will teach you how to live your extraordinary life. At 8 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio, where I will provide the tools and the steps needed to help you transcend perceived limitations and move forward with an extraordinary life. For more information, visit me at tracylclark.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm really excited about this show today because, for me, I wasn't able to go to a book like the one I have in front of me, the Book of Flower Spells by Cheralyn Darce. I wasn't able to do that because the book didn't exist, but it does now. And so when I look at both books I have in my hand, the Book of Flower Spells and the Book of Herb Spells, there wasn't really I couldn't go to these two amazing books and really look at what do I need for what. I really had to do this kind of the old school way. And if you go back, Cheralyn, back to 2004, we didn't have smartphones, right? We didn't have the access that we have now. But now we do. So let's start off by letting folks know, first of all, how they can get copies of the book, but also how they can find out more about you.
Oh, okay. Well, you can get copies of all of my work from Barnes & Noble. So from their website and also from their stores. I believe these are actually in store at right now, which is lovely. So lovely Barnes & Noble people and at their website. And my website is CheralynDarce.com. And I've got links there to social media. I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and I love Instagram at the moment because I'm studying floristry and getting my floristry qualification. So there's lots of flower things there at the moment. So they're the places you can find me and the books.
Yeah, if you go to Cheralyn's website, and I'll spell it CHERALYN, Darcy, DARCEY. If you go, you're going to see like a happy person right there. You're just like,
flowers
you're
make you happy.
Like somebody's happy. But part of this too is you're doing what you love, and you're also doing something that is going to help the world. And you're right about your Instagram. Oh, yeah. I mean, that is like, I'm working on Instagram. I've got Jessica and Carter and a bunch of people helping me, right? But, one of the things I want to talk about, too, is take us on a journey of the books. See, people would get these and think, oh, this is going to be about this is going to be about that. It's going to help me do this, but it may not help me do that. That's not what I discovered. I mean, I got a couple of things in here where I'm taking the books to Linda's house because we're doing a little house clearing.
Oh,
so
there you go.
Tell us about your approach to writing this. This isn't just about medicine. This is about cool stuff.
It's everyday stuff. That's what I thought. I wanted to write the book so that anybody could pick them up and use them safely and learn a bit about magic as well. And those that may already be on paths, magical paths, and practicing spell work already, I wanted them to look at it, and also the beginners, like a recipe book. So I've started off in the beginning, and I've explained what a spell is. There's a chapter on that and how it works, and even maybe why they don't work sometimes and what you can do about that. Yeah. And I've given you really good safety instructions, because you've got to be safe when you're working with energy and you're working around other people and with plants as well. And then I've broken up the book. There's 60 spells in each book, and I've put them into different sections, because I think when we go to look for a spell, you're not saying I want a spell with a daisy. You're sort of saying, oh, gosh, things aren't so great at the moment, or I'd like to improve something at the moment. So what would I like? So the flower spell book, you've got a section on flower spells for relationships and love, remembering we can't change the free will of someone else, but they're about inspiring love and changing the energy around yourself and around your environment so you can invite love in. And that's what spell work is. I think, Dr. Pat, people forget that. It's not really just abracadabra. It's all about changing the energy around something so that you can get the outcome that you desire. That's what it's all about. And I just think there's nothing better and more powerful than really understanding flowers and plants and herbs and trees and all these things and connecting with that energy to make that change happen. But so there's relationships and love spells. There's things like a daily orchid self-love spell, which I love. You can do every morning, and that makes a beautiful botanical balm. I think that one is there. These are the first two. I've been writing lots of these books now. They're coming out soon.
Well, I zoomed in on. I was reading the book, and I love this. There is the creativity success spell, and that one you're using gladiolas, I think. Right?
Oh, yes, because they are all about gladiolas. They're all about, well, look at the way they grow. They stand up tall. They've got the flowers up the top as well. And that's what it's about. It's about getting that energy in. But there's your traditional flower spells for protection and clearing. And I think you were saying that before you were going off with Linda, and there's a whole lot of those in both of the books. You know, there's things like there's how to make your own smudge sticks there with roses. Oh my gosh, rose smudge sticks are just absolutely beautiful. There's a hair rinse, and I use this, a red clover flower travel protection hair rinse. It's a mouthful, but it's beautiful, and it's really good for your hair as well. And it gives you a bit of that extra when you're traveling, just a bit of extra protection there. There are the health and healing spells. And there's some detox spells there with dahlias. There's a stress release lip balm, which I really, really like, with hibiscuses. And then you're moving down into like there's for transition and change. And there's a few there that are using little spell boxes and spell bottles and shakers and things like that. Really easy with to make with things that are around. But also in each of the spells, the flower spell book and the herb spell book, I've given you alternates because not all of the plants are going to be available all over the world. I'm here in Australia, you're there in the States, and there's people from all over the world, I'm sure, that listen to you and read these books too, and you can't always get them. I have shown you in the front of the books how you can dry botanicals so you can use them later, and how if you have no access at all, you can use imagery. So you can use paintings, photographs, your own
I didn't know
sketches.
that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, just say, if I was sitting in hospital and okay, everyone gave me, flowers, of course. but if there was a certain flower I wanted to connect with, using imagery, and I'm not talking about stock photographs of the internet, but what if you knew a wonderful artist that you love? What if you just wanted to connect with Frida Kahlo or George O'Keeffe's beautiful flowers, and you sat there? You know these people, you know these artists, and there's a lot of great photographers as well who take beautiful pictures of plants and flowers, and that's the sort of imagery I'm talking about. So even if you're on your smartphone, you were looking at that sort of energy because they have connected somehow, and that connection lives in that art, and also with oracle cards as well. I do have flower oracle cards, and so do other people as well. So connecting with people who creatively have connected can still bring that energy to you. So all is not lost. And you can do all of these spells with fresh flowers, botanicals, aromatherapy products as well, flower essences, because I use the Doctrine of Signatures and the language of flowers, the true language of flowers, to create all of my spell work. So these things then cross over to all these different things. So you can, and even natural perfumes, because it still has the same energy in it as well. So it's accessible.
Well, I want to ask you a couple of things, too, about the book that it wouldn't be obvious to people. Not only do you talk about and set the stage in the front of the book, but you take us on a journey on the process. And what I mean is, like anything, I had a grandmother that wouldn't cook certain food certain times of the month. She wore, later on, I figured it out. It had to do with the moon.
Yes.
And I have no idea what that was in my culture, but it had to do with the moon. And it was ironic about it, how she cooked certain things on certain days. Of course, I'm from a Mediterranean and a Latino family. So, herbs are important. In the book, you talk about timing, but you also talk about how do you go about and work with flowers? How do you dry them? And then how do you create and cast this spell? So let's talk about that a little bit before we jump in a couple of our favorites.
Okay. With the timings, think of these as magical boosters. Now, I've given you a moon phase, and I've explained those in the front of the book as well. I've given you a day of the week and a time of the day as well. These are the optimum times to do this spell because the correspondences, the energies of these different times will give you a magical boost. But if you can't do it at that time, if you're sitting there saying, I've got a job interview tomorrow and I'm looking down here and I've got, the Book of Herb Spells, I've got one of these spells here that will really help me boost my chances to get this job. But it's not a full moon and it's not this and it's not that. Don't not do it. Still do it. It's just that this gives you a little bit of an extra boost. So that's what that's about with the timings. And I'm sure that's probably what that you're talking about there. But also getting connected with these plants and herbs as well. As I said, it's just about learning more about them and taking an interest. And that's why in the book next to the spells, you'll see I've got two little sort of pull-out boxes. And it just gives you a little bit of information. And some of them are, look, they're like my flower and plant trivia that I love to collect, and they can be things about historical people and their connection with plants. It can be things about complementary medicines and just fascinating things. But I've put them in there because I know understanding these things sort of grows that connection and it pulls that connection closer because the more it's like knowing something about a person that you meet. If you know that they love carousels or something, you get a different, don't you? You get a different vibe. You start to understand them a little bit more. Yeah. So that's why I love sharing botanical history and these little tidbits of information, just so that you can understand the character, so you can develop a closer relationship when you're making spells as well. I want to put a smile on your face. I want to get you to go, okay, I get it now. Yeah, I can see why that flower would be used. And I haven't mentioned that at the start of every spell. I've actually explained why we use this flower in this spell, or in the herbs as well, why this herb's used. Not like, just get these daisies and get this. No, this is why the daisies, because you need to get a relationship. You need to understand what you're doing and understand the energy that you're connecting with, so that it will work and it just enlivens you. I think it opens up the plant world to you.
Part of this too is and I was going to mention that. It's not just a book where you open it up like a recipe book. You have brought so much research, so much information, and so much care to explain things, right? So I was, and I have both books in here for those of you that are listening, and we're going to give a copy of the book away. Let's go ahead and do that now, Benny. 1-800-930-2819. Let's give our first copy, 1-800-930-2819. One of the things I really love is, first of all, you have two different books. I am very grateful to you for separating the book of flower spells and the book of herb spells. I mean, I can't tell you that for somebody like me, without separating them, I mean, I think it's enough to sort of learn and grasp, but I love that you separated them. But I want to ask you what your thinking was about separating them.
Okay. You'll probably notice, or you will because you've read them, that there are flowers in the herb spell one, and there are herbs in that as secondary ingredients, as extra ingredients. But the focus of I wanted you to focus on different aspects, different flowers, different herbs. And I separated the books, and I have got two more that are about to be announced. I've just finished writing the fourth one. I'm not allowed to say yet what they are.
No, I know.
So I've just done the third and the fourth one. But what I wanted to do was to get that focus, because it's the same as, you walk into places and you're bombarded with all the information, and I really wanted it to be probably a study for people as well, and for them to really grow those. So as I said, I keep saying grow the connection and focus, and I think that's the problem with a lot of the world. We don't focus on things enough. We want it all now, and I really wanted this to be almost like a study. So this is flowers. Get to know your flowers, get to know your herbs in this one as well. Of course, there's other, aspects, and there's the others backs and forwards, but also some people are just more drawn to flowers and some are more drawn to herbs. These are these favourites. Yeah. I've already spoken, these books have been out for a couple of months in Australia, and I've spoken to people at different festivals and bookstores, and they're like, oh, I love herbs. And I just we say herbs here, but, and I know I lived in the States for a while, so I'm
so what did I say? I said, did I say herbs?
Herbs, yeah, but I lived in California for a while, so I'm used to.
I heard that first from Olivia Newton-John when I interviewed her. I heard that first, herbs. And so I thought maybe all my life I've been mispronouncing it. So I started to pronounce it like you all.
That's cool. But
and my friends were like, what are you saying? And I'm
That's
like,
okay.
oh.
No, I think it's cute. But no, it's like I've spoken to a lot of people that picked up one book and they've said, oh, this is my favourite. And then they've gone, oh, I really like this. And I've gone and ventured into the other one. Some get both at the same time because it makes, there's 120 spells there. But it's been quite interesting. And I guess that's the other thing. I love seeing how people are drawn to one subject or the other. And then they're like, oh, now I can expand. I can keep going with plants and, learn more about different types of plants. That's sort of a bit of a giveaway, isn't it? My other books, but it's a little bit of a surprise in it. But that's why. Just to get focused, Dr. Pat, just to get people to get focused on subjects. That's why I did it.
Well, this is really part of the conversation we're having here, and a bigger conversation, because this is, for me, I want to get back to a couple things here. And one of them of extraordinary importance for me is talking about how we are looking for remedies. I got to tell you something. All of a sudden here in the U.S., at least in the Pacific Northwest now, there is this expose on things we're putting in our foods, things that are in our water. I mean, it's almost like all of a sudden, you and I, Cheralyn, we know that we've been looking at this for a long time, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
well, I'm a gardener, and I always smile at people and say to me, oh, do you, I new neighbours, I gave them some, I had a lot of silver beet and just like a spinach here. And I was giving them to my new neighbours, and she said, oh, you don't spray it with anything. And I was like, I said, I'm an organic gardener. I never used the term organic before. I just would never think to spray things all over my plants.
I know.
I wouldn't know that. It's just like, why would I do that? It's just, and all the additives and the different things, it's just, it's like, let's get back to the way that it used to be. And I know it's trendy to be like that. And I kind of think it's a good thing. I don't mind. Jump on the bandwagon. Everybody get on. We need to get, it doesn't worry me. Get on it.
Well, here's what we're going to do. You got to love this. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, why is it that all of a sudden one day, I'm not answering this, Cheralyn's going to answer this. I bought organic ginger, a giant bag of organic ginger, right? And decided I'm going to grow peppermint. Seriously, Pat, you got the basil, the parsley, and oregano, and you said peppermint, ginger and peppermint. What do you think the psyche of me was trying to tell me? I'm going to let Cheralyn tell you that. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Tap into the wisdom of animals, angels, and masters with Darce Pariso on Animal Soul Wisdom Radio. Tune in monthly as Darce brings insights on how to better understand and deepen our relationships with animals. Working with light and pureness of ancient techniques, Darce, healer, animal communicator, and medium, is here to guide you through this process and provide inspiration to move forward. For more information about working with Darce, visit darcepariso.com.
everybody. Welcome. I cannot believe that this is only going to be an hour show. We may have to record sort of like a show after here when we're doing this, because I'm telling you, I don't even know how I'm going to get all my questions out there for Cheralyn. And as I said, we have given one copy of the book away, and we're going to go ahead and get another one away. 1-800-930-2819. Okay, you mentioned, Cheralyn, you're the one that mentioned intuition. So what are the odds? I'm planting my garden earlier this year. All of a sudden deciding, oh, let's throw the peppermint, like where? In the middle of the basil, the oregano, right? And the parsley. And then ordering a giant bag of ginger. And I got to tell you, I don't do things like that. And then I got your book. What do you think I'm hungry for?
Oh, I think well, ginger and peppermint are look together particularly. And I love this when people tell me their favorite flowers, or all of a sudden they like this plant, or they start growing it, or even it pops up in their garden and they've never seen it before. But ginger and peppermint together, creativity. It's all about growing things. It's all about moving things, like artists who have creative blocks as well. But particularly ginger stirs up passion, and it moves things along. And my mouth's sort of tingling at the moment thinking of ginger myself, because, you know, I'm an artist and writer too. But I'd say it's something that you need to get out there as well. Peppermint will raise the energy around anything. It raises our vibrations. It gets us in tune with other things that we need to be. So it's like a wake-up call. If you think about it, you know, that's why I've used it actually in a smelling salt spell, and a good old-fashioned smelling salt to wake you up. So I don't know, Dr. Pat, I don't want to be rude, but what do you need to wake up to? That's what I say.
Well, what I love in the book is that, and I'm going to go right to the book, everybody, because you know what? I read everybody's books. So here you say, right? And you go in and talk about it. And I know what this is about. Okay. We have, here it is. We have a crowdfunding initiative we're getting ready to launch. And we have to be very clear about how we're describing what we're doing and what we're building. And that's been a little hiccup for us, because you know, the public doesn't want to know everything you're doing. And we're sitting here and we're saying, we're launching a positive mojo movement, and through technology, which is, right, our positive media mojo. And and then all of a sudden, it's like we couldn't even get those words out. And of course, we'll explain that. But we are looking for this level of creativity to finish what we need to finish so that we can launch our crowdfunding. So I know what this is about. It's that creativity.
Absolutely, yeah. With ginger, it does. It clears away writer's blocks. If things are sort of slow and not happening, or people can't quite think, ginger's fantastic for those sorts of things. And as I said, the peppermint will just raise your vibration to that. It will get you meeting the vibration that you need to get that message out. That's what that's all about. So, and you're putting it, and you mentioned basil. Basil's all about success. That's what it's about. And when you said that, I went, you said I'm putting the peppermint in amongst the basil?
I did.
Success.
It's right next to it.
Yeah, especially abundance.
I planted
and
2 of them, 2 different batches of them. Oh, and they're so happy out there. Still.
Oh, that's it. And let me ask you, did you plant the parsley yourself? That's it. It's kind of good. Look, in the old days, they used to say that, I know now you wait till I get to the end, but in the old days, traditionally, they would say only the very wicked could grow parsley themselves, because it need to go down to the devil and back 7 times, and some things you say 9 times, before it would grow and flourish. What we look at today, it just means people who can accept their shadow side of themselves and other people as well, and can become grounded when need be. So they're not always they are sort of up there in that. So they're connected with below and above, and here as well, grow parsley very well. So we need to understand our shadow side. We can't just ignore it. And so those who grow parsley, and I grow parsley my parsley is actually going crazy at the moment. And I think because I did become a little bit aware of different things when I wasn't well as well. So, sometimes things get lost in translation. So never get too, I do share little bits of folklore as well, but look at how they apply really, because, I think there's too much focus on just love and light. Well, that's good. But have a look at the grounding part as well, and look at our shape. We need to understand that. But I love the fact, and you round your parsley as well, protection. It is a protection herb. We used to put parsley. You know how we have garnishes on our food? This will explain your thing really well. Because it was believed that parsley in the old days, the medieval times, they used to chop parsley up and sprinkle it all over the top of their food because they believed they wouldn't get sick and evil spirits wouldn't enter their food because parsley would protect it, okay? So this is where we get the modern day parsley on the side and the garnishes from. This didn't just happen. So that it's actually from us trying to protect our food. Now you're putting it in with the parsley, it's protecting something that's going to feed other people, maybe not with them, it's going to feed them and help them sustain themselves as well. So I just love this. And what was the other herb you put it with? I'm just like, I love deciphering these.
Or oregano.
Oh, oregano, yeah.
Oregano, my favorite.
And I would say that's a personal thing. You were saying Mediterranean background as well. So it's something that, and it's also a very earthy herb as well. It's sort of, it connects, that connects you down. So we call it sort of sweet marjoram sometimes. It depends exactly which one it is, but it's a grounding one too.
But oregano, we know now. I mean, let's just talk for a little bit about oregano. I know there's so much to talk about here. I'm trying to keep track of time.
Sorry, I know.
I think I'm just going to skip the break.
Okay.
I want to talk about oregano. I joked about this morning. And what I joked about this morning, it was a joke, but we did a show this morning on one of the first natural homeopathic topical product, human growth hormone. And think about it, right? I mean, nobody wants to go the traditional route with that and what people have learned from that. And so picking up on what we do with bioidentical hormones, right? So my naturopath makes her own, I shouldn't say make, it's compound, that's the word. Compounds her own. And she started this way back when I got really sick. I mean, she was doing all sorts of things, right? And so here we are now, and we were talking about this new, by the way, in the United States, FDA-approved product. And we thought about it. Of course it's going to work. And people want to say it's not going to work. But you could not tell my grandmother, now this is my grandmother, not to put olive oil on her skin at night before she went to bed. It wasn't until my first long-term relationship when my partner said, "Are you seriously putting the olive oil on?" And I mean, I grew up all my life with that. Like olive oil was my thing. So here's what I want to ask you. There's so many amazing things you bring to the forefront here. You also use color.
Yes.
How in the world did you put these two books together? And do you have a favorite? I mean, seriously, I went through and I looked at that spell with the ginger, and you said, go find something orange. Well, my car is bright orange, right?
Oh, there you go.
How does, this is amazing because I think we do it intuitively.
We do it intuitively. And this is what I'm saying about, using our intuition, but using it honestly and wisely. And we do need to have the research. So we do need to find out more because we just, with so much white noise around us. But these things, we know them. They are inside us. And I mean, it's a bit of a catch cry, but look, honestly, you do need to let go of ego. You do need to get back to plants. You don't need to connect them with other things. They are already connected with things. You need the purity of it and the colors. They will call out to us. As I said, it's just, look, you just said that about your car. I've spoken to people who've experienced this, and I have myself. I've stood on a really crowded Sydney train going somewhere, and I've turned around and I've seen the color of someone's shirt and it's reminded me of a pink rose, or someone said someone's name and it could be Hyacinth or something, and it's just, but it's louder, and it's that connection because and I've listened to that and gone, yeah, that flower, this is what it means, because we're all organic organisms living together on this planet. And you touched on animals before. I think we find it easier to connect with, do I feel like a wolf person or a lion, and that's my star sign, or that's what I feel like, or that's my past life, or when I'm around these animals, because they're a little bit more like us, aren't they, than a flower or a plant. And I just wanted to touch on the harvesting. I have a lot of people say to me, but what about cutting a flower? I don't want to cut
I wanted to ask you about that. And I want to ask you about that. And then I want to ask you about Linda's favorite flower.
Oh, yes.
Because it's her birthday. And
yes.
She has pictures of this flower. And if you left here without me asking you, forget it.
Oh, she wouldn't like
but
it.
I want to ask you about this. Now, I've been growing my herbs, and I love growing flowers. And yet at the same time, tell us, some people think, no, it's not okay to cut flowers. No, it's not. Tell me.
Okay. Is it okay to have a bowl of lettuce, Dr. Pat? Is it okay? So a flower is part of it. So, it's kind of like, so the thing is, a flower is part of a plant. It's not the plant. Now, I can tell you the energy for those once a rose has gone on, that rose bush has still got the energy of a rose. It doesn't go away. The flowers are the sexual reproductive parts of plants. That's what they are. So naturally, when they flower, it's like us when we're sort of ready to reproduce. We're the prettiest we can be. We're the flirtiest. We're out there. Look, it's nature. It's just basic nature. So the same with plants. The flowers are out there, but they have a life cycle. Okay. So they're going to die. They're going to fall off. Their seeds, they're going to disperse. This is what happens to them. So harvesting honourably, harvesting carefully as well, a flower for your needs without over-harvesting, making sure that you protect the plant as well, preferably growing your own or obtaining them from a sustainable florist or someone who gardens as well. These things protect plants and they protect that cycle. Look, I'd much rather use a flower in something than and it's not taking the whole thing either. Like it's harvesting properly and looking after things. It's not like chopping a whole tree down to do something. So that's how I look at it. Now, I know there's a couple of very well-known people who've made quotes about, enjoy the flower as it is. You don't have to chop it down. You don't have to cut it off. Yes, I say that too. Yes, enjoy the rose. If you don't need it, if you don't need to cut it, don't. But if you would like to harvest it, the same as if you'd like to have a salad, that's it. I don't sit there and just munch into my salad and don't give a toss about what's happening. Like you, I'm sure, and a lot of the listeners, I'm concerned about where my food comes from and that it's not, full of pesticides and been sitting in a horrible crate somewhere forever. So it's exactly the same thing. It is.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry.
I get it because, I'm one of these people that I learned about the power of roses and rose water and rose petals. Okay, Linda, I've got to.
Okay.
I've known Linda, 1972, my producer, the one that gets everybody on the show. Linda. Sarah knows Linda. Look, these beautiful, tall, purple irises. Know what I mean?
Yes.
Color pictures of them. Just absolutely, Linda.
Okay, so your Linda's flower is usually known as blue flag iris. That's usually the one that we're talking about. Sometimes it's the Croatian one, but they have similar meanings. But I would say that's the one. It's in a lot of the paintings. And this, of course, is where the fleur de lis, the French fleur de lis. You see it on a lot of. I know when I was over there in New Orleans, it seems to be on all the gates, and I've actually got them on my garden fence now because I love them. So the 3 petals, one goes up, one goes on either side. The French adopted this. I could go on forever about why they did that, but anyway, it's faith. wisdom, valor. That's what the 3 sort of petals coming out. But very connected with people who are creative. You're right saying that you see it in a lot of paintings. So either the person's creative or they really appreciate creativity and beautiful things as well. But they're about inspiration. They're the ability to be happy. You know how people sort of, it's like they're searching for happy, but some people just have the ability to be happy, or they have that ability, they just haven't explored it enough. They need to sort of get in that. But they're also so it's good at they're good at inspiration and also getting rid of negative feelings. That's what I really see. Giving a bunch of these to someone else says that you believe in them. You know that you believe them, and they're very supportive people, Iris people as well. Like I like
loyal.
Yeah, very loyal.
Loyal, supportive.
I
mean, honestly, I would not be alive today if it weren't for Linda. I'm telling you. But it's interesting flower. It's, she always teases me about my fascination for roses, and yet these iris are so beautiful. I mean, they are so her. And I want to ask you about this. Do we have a flower? Like people tell me, Pat, your animal totem is this. Yep. It's this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
What's yours?
Yeah. What's my Lysianthus is my you call it Texas bluebells, that's what you call them over there. So so I absolutely, I was beside myself when I went over there. I love Lysianthus. They're also known as the poor man's rose, Dr. Pat. So and they're that blousy kind of wild looking rose to me. So they're my favorite. But I feel like they're my flower. I do have a bit of a leaning to peonies. I think a lot of us have more than one flower. There's a few dimensions there. And yours are roses. Well, roses are the number one spiritual sort of goddess flower of all of them. Think of their beautiful fragrance as well. They've been cultivated and loved by people over this entire planet, originally from sort of China, we think.
Yeah, I'm drinking green tea with rosebuds.
Roses. Oh,
I have put rosebuds in my tea. Is that like a little bit too much?
Oh gosh, no!
I got into tea rosebuds.
I put olive. I was actually listening to a thing. I put olive oil in my hair. I have very thick, very very sort of coarse hair. It's a lot of hair, big curly hair, and I put olive oil in my hair. But I put rosehip oil. I've done it for years before it was even trendy to do. I put rosehip oil and roses. I wear a lot of rose perfume as well, or oils. Sorry.
Look at you.
Because I love them because they're very protective. People who love roses as well really look after other people.
Oh,
and they love. They love sharing information. So it's no surprise that you have your radio as well. No surprise.
Hey, let me just ask you this. Yeah. I have got to have you come back so we can do a show just on the herb book.
Okay. Yes, we've got all flowers today.
Come back. I don't know how we get to do another hour with you, but whatever you need to talk to Sarah about, you just will make it happen. Honestly, I've got to be able to talk to you about this.
All right.
I've been doing this 15 years. I've done about maybe 8,000 interviews.
Wow.
I've read more books on things than I can begin to imagine. But you write and you present for people like me that does not have a degree in any of this. And you make it so fun. And I just want to acknowledge you for that, Cheralyn. I mean,
thank you.
It's the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing. One last question. Thank you so much for today. Again, give out your website. And I want you to pick the spell for the day.
Okay, the spell for the day. The spell for the day. Oh, I tell you what, I know what we will what will we do? The spell for the day. I think, look, the spell for the day I would love to is the Daisy Happiness fizzy bath spell. Honestly, I just feel like we all need a bit of kindness and happiness, and that's what I'd really like to sort of share with everybody today. So, and that is making a like a type of like a bath bomb as well. So that's what I'd like to share. Do you want me to actually say how to do this spell?
No, we don't have enough time. I think we got a little cliffhanger.
No, but
I like that.
No, I'd love to. I'd love to.
All right,
yeah.
you have to come back for her book. You've got to, because that's where I have to ask you about some of the stuff my grandma used to pull together. It just makes me, and I do it today. Thank you so much. Please give out your website and leave us with a personal message. What would you like to leave us with?
Absolutely. Oh, well, my website is www.cheralyn, Cheralyn, Darcy, Darcey.com. And what I'd like to leave you all with today is that I'd love nature to bless you, each and every one of you. But much more importantly, I'd like you all to be a blessing to nature.
Oh, my goodness. I love it. Cheralyn, thank you so much. You're amazing.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wow. Cheralyn's going to come back because we didn't even touch on the herb book. We're going to take a short break. Everybody, we'll be right back with another hour on Transformation Talk Radio. We'll be right back.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.